world-class facility. If people haven't seen it, you get a chance to
heard that.
see
I've
it.
not seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna hook you guys up and send you through the virtual simulator because they're already looking. They're always looking for people,
I'd love
and you can
to.
come back here and talk about it. So.
Yeah,
I would love
that'd be
to.
fantastic. Yeah,
We'll make a fool
let
of
us know.
us.
We'll come back and talk about it.
Joining us today at the table are Sheriff Jack Campbell of Sangamon County and Lieutenant Travis Dalby. Thanks for joining us. The reason, or the thing that triggered us inviting you on was we ran into Travis a couple weeks ago, and he was sharing the information about the upcoming golf outing that you guys are hosting to raise funds for your tactical response team. So we are huge supporters of law enforcement.
Yes.
I've had a long-standing relationship with Jack, and Travis and I have gone back for years. So it gave us a reason to have you on. So we're glad to have you on, and then secondly, would you say a little bit about the golf outing as well as your tactical response unit?
Sure. Yeah. So we came up with the idea of doing a golf outing, and we're doing it out at Long Bridge on May 24th. The idea behind it is just to build some funds to help with us generating nothing that we do for the TAC team is cheap.
Yeah,
right. And,
Can
so
only imagine.
So it just helps us in a way to come together to actually build some funds to use it for some equipment, life saving equipment and things like that. So it's We came up with this idea, and then we're just kind of getting started. And I ran into you guys at Bank of Springfield. It happened to be opening day for March Madness.
That's
so
right.
it was complete accident to run into everybody there, but it was perfect timing because I had several different businesses, people who own businesses in one room at one time.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough flyers, so I wish I would have had a few more. But I was actually leaving a training day that day, and on my way home, I thought, you know what, I'll stop in here because Brian Anderson, who's I'm not exactly what his title is at Bank of Springfield. I know he's probably vice president. I believe that's what it is. He's right there when you come in.
The best golfer I've ever seen in the city of Springfield. He's really good.
He is an incredible golfer. His son, Gavin, I used to coach in baseball, and I knew that he was big in golf and at Bank of Springfield. And I played baseball with and against a lot of people that work at Bank of Springfield, the Canadlers and so on, Ryan Murphy and just to name a few. And
those guys are big community supporters.
Oh, yes.
Bank of Springfield for sure.
Yeah. So it was a great stop for me. So I was able to see a lot of people. I saw you guys. And I passed the flyers out, and then you guys said, hey, you guys should come on the Peerless podcast here and have a conversation about it. And I thought, well, great. It would be beneficial to get the word out even more. So
is this the first year for it?
This is.
Okay,
this
cool.
is the first year for it. And I'm new to this.
Yeah,
I'm getting my way through this golf outing thing.
Sure.
It's hard to ask for money, and Travis hasn't learned to do that yet.
Well, I think
call me, I'll go with you.
Having been on a couple golf outing boards, I mean, you get a little committee together of people that have done it before. It makes your life a lot easier. And you can facilitate. So we could probably help you too, right?
Seriously.
Get the word out to all the business people that we know that are golfers that support law enforcement. We'll do whatever we can to help you, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, seriously.
And if I can, Travis talked about the equipment and the cost of it. So they're not a line item in our budget. The county board does a very good job, and through my office supporting them. But I want to say, because I was on the tactical team for about 9 years before I became an administrator, what these guys do. We always talk about law enforcement does something that most people don't want to do.
Right.
But the tactical team is who you call when it really gets hairy, right? When you have somebody barricaded, when you have a high-risk search warrant to serve. They go into the unknown. Usually they know that somebody is armed. So, again, not just the equipment, but training is so necessary. And we send the team down to Mississippi to train every year with a world-renowned trainer that's not cheap either to send them down there. So we want to equip them with the best of the equipment and give them the best training they can possibly get because they are the insurance policy for the entire Sangamon County.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're
glad to support it. That's for sure.
Do you have a goal of what you're trying to raise this year?
I know in the past we've had some success with some fundraisers, so I'm not trying to, set the bar too high with our first go around. But I would say somewhere 10,000 would be. I'd be happy with that or above.
Yeah,
How about we go to 20?
Yeah, let's go to
I like
20.
the
I say
20.
we shoot for 20.
I knew that's what he was going to say
Yeah, seriously.
because I knew what
He's
the goal
setting the
was
bar low.
before.
So look what I did.
I mean, be mediocre.
I'm trying to be successful here, all right? So yeah, I just really didn't have any idea on what something like this could generate or do.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all new to me, and hopefully this will be an annual thing, and we'll be able to build on it and add to it, and do some of the other things that I know some golf outings do.
Sure.
In addition to, I didn't want to get head over heels on this and then not be able to fulfill it. I just kind of wanted to fill it out for the first go. So
Yep, makes sense. We're going to help you in any way we can. That's for sure. Spread the news.
and
what you guys have, you got a foursome in there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And your whole
Yeah.
sponsor as well. And we appreciate that.
yeah, and we greatly appreciate what you do. I think, like you said, boy, a thankless job most of the time.
Well, I go back to COVID. I think when Brad and I first really connected.
Yeah.
And he was calling me out of the clear blue about bring your equipment, bring your squad cars down here. Everybody wanted to clean everything.
Yeah.
And Brad made it clear, hey, this is on us. We want to be there for you guys. You're the ones still out there working when everybody else is sitting at home.
Yeah.
And so that began that, and it showed me where you guys stood with law enforcement, and it continues through this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Jim Kychek, I think, connected us.
Yes. Yeah, with the Sheriff's Association.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Cool. So, Travis, tell us a little bit about your role in the department.
Well, at the department, in general, I'm a lieutenant on midnights, so I handle the midnight shift. I get there. We start at 10:30 at night and get off at 7:30 in the morning. And I basically, that's my shift. I got a couple sergeants that help me out. They run the day-to-day things for me, and I handle a lot of the administrative part of it. But
How many cars do we have on the road for that midnight shift? Ballpark.
It can vary. It depends on day to day. It depends on what's going on the department, if we got training days and things like that scheduled. Whenever I would. Not really sure how to answer that on an average basis, to be honest with you.
Well, we talk about maximum, right? Maximum probably 9.
9, yeah.
Yeah.
And minimum is going to be 4 probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So anywhere in that range, depending on a lot of things.
And that
Gotcha.
could
A lot
depend
of
on
factors.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like I see, for instance, I have a buddy who's a state police officer. I feel like there's 100 state police officers in the Springfield area, but he goes like, no, there's like 4.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
just seems like I see him
Because all
everywhere.
the headquarters is
The
here, so
headquarters,
you see a lot of them
But
around
I
because
see
of that.
your cars everywhere as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that, as Travis mentioned, they got 875 square miles to cover, but you have unincorporated pockets in Springfield that we're responsible for, and that's where most of our calls for service come from.
Is that right?
Yes, people don't understand that. You see our cars, and we only have 4 cars working. They see 3 of them in town,
Right.
Because that's where our calls for service are at.
Gotcha.
You got again, what we do is if a car comes in and out in rural New Berlin or Eliopolis, we just send other cars out that direction and get there as quick as we can.
Gotcha.
Very
Okay.
good. Yep.
Yeah.
we also have that take home squad cars, and our guys do use those. But they understand that if they're in that squad car and something happens, they're
on
responding
duty.
on their days off. They're responding.
Gotcha. Is that right?
Many guys have solved many crimes being off in their squad car, off duty, so to speak. And they're there and
See something happen and respond. No
And you
kidding.
can't measure what we've prevented by somebody
Right.
off duty
Somebody
driving
being in
by.
their car.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
So that's a great selling point for the take home program. They're responsible for that car. But it also creates that omnipresence of law enforcement,
Yes.
and it does prevent
it's
crime
great.
from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I never would have thought about it in those terms.
yeah.
So is that different than City of Springfield as far as cars going home?
No, they have take home program
have-
also.
okay,
But,
gotcha.
they have residency issues. I won't get into the city.
Yeah,
but
right. No,
some of their people can't take their cars home if they live out of the city. I
Outside
believe.
of the
Yeah.
city because of resident. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, cool. How long have you been sheriff now?
I'm in I'm finishing my second year of my second term, so 6 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
But I've been there. So I started in 1992 as an auxiliary deputy when I was working another job and starting. I was taking the county test, trying to get hired, and eventually in January of 1996, Sheriff Williamson hired me as a deputy. So I've been around that long, and of course, without going into details, there was an election that I lost, and that. I retired in 2016 and went to work for the state of Illinois. And I started the medical cannabis program, which Governor Rauner wanted a cop with administrative experience to come in and start it.
Gotcha.
So I kind of accepted that as my new role in life and everything. I thought law enforcement was over with. And then when Sheriff Barr decided not to run for a second term, my phone blew up immediately.
Yeah.
And was happy to accept the nomination from the Republican Party. And I won a couple elections since then.
That's great.
Cool. I had forgotten about that stint. where you were away from.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I bet you won't, right?
You know what? It was strange too that I had 20 years on exactly when I retired, and I just still didn't get out of my system. But I accepted that was my role now, and I began mentally to move on. And this opportunity came up, and I was never going to pass it. In fact, I was a finalist for U.S. Marshal. Representative LaHood and Davis, Rodney Davis, had got a hold of me about putting myself in for that. Well, as I was going through that process, because I missed law enforcement tremendously, I was going through that process whenever Sheriff Barr made his announcement, and I immediately withdrew my name for U.S. Marshal because this is where my home is. This is where I wanted to be, and it was very happy to really withdraw my name because this was a fit for me, and truly again did not get it out of my system. So I was happy to come back and kind of take care of that now.
Yeah, cool, very good. How long have you been with the county?
I just started my 19th year.
Man, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it doesn't seem like that. I say 19, that's a lot of time, but it doesn't seem like it was been 19 years. That's
Is it hard to find young police officers to go through the academy?
You know what? We have less applicants now, but we have high quality applicants. So right now, if you want to be a cop, you really want to be a cop. And before we get away from this too, I want to say Travis and I both are legacies. Both of our dads worked together as Sangamon County deputies. So again, we have that connection.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I look for things like that too, right? If we have a connection when we're looking for young applicants, do you have a connection with law enforcement, especially the sheriff's office? And we seem to do, even if it's 2 or 3 degrees separated, there is some connection there. And if you have that type of connection to an agency, then you really, I think, put in the effort, and you want to do right by your family,
right?
And your family knows that other people were there. It could be an uncle or something. So I think that also ties us down.
Yeah. Is there a selection process that is different, whether you're going to be working for the city, the county, or maybe the state?
It is different. I think we have the best because we give our test. If you pass everything, you pass the physical agility test and the written test, and then pass the oral interview with the merit commission, you're in this giant pool. And so we can pluck anybody from that pool.
Gotcha.
We don't have any sort of order you have to go in by how you scored or anything. So I think we have I think the best process to hand select the best people.
Yeah, gotcha. Very good. Yeah.
Did you always want to be in law enforcement? I don't think we've ever talked about that.
Well, to be 100% honest with you, when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to play ball. I wanted to play ball. That was pretty much it. Well, the reality of making a living playing a game, being 5'10", maybe, it started to set in, pretty realistically. So I knew I needed to figure something out. When I was done playing ball, I chose to continue and get my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And I just, my dad never pushed me to do law enforcement. He didn't steer me away from it. But it wasn't like one of those things where it's like, hey, you need to do this, you need to look at this or whatever. He just was kind of neutral on it. And then, I really started thinking about, I think I could do that. I think it fits my personality pretty good. So I kind of just kept on going that way, and I'm pretty persistent, I guess. When there's a goal, there's something that I want, So I graduated in May of 05. In June of 05, I was hired and gone at the academy, and I started off in Sherman, which was, a lot of people will say Sherman is one of like the AAA to Sangamon County. There's a lot of and there's other agencies too that we've taken them from too. But it just seems like a lot of guys that they kind of started there, and that's kind of what I did. There was no real. I knew this. I knew that if I got a bachelor's degree, because at the time that was a requirement, I knew that if I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice or anything really, a bachelor's degree if I had one. And I was able to get myself hired somewhere, get some experience, get the academy behind me. Even if it wasn't at the sheriff's office here, I knew that would help get me to a bigger department sooner. So that was always the goal, was to try to go somewhere bigger. And I did test at other places, but when I can't say the sheriff really came calling right away, he didn't really have to because I like I said, I was persistent. You know, I'd come and knock on the door and say, hey, you know, try to get a meeting, try to do this, try to do that. Anywhere I'd see him somewhere, I made sure that I went up to him, approached him, was like, hey, I wanted to be hired here. And, you know, I put forth that effort to try to do that because I remember whenever I went to the testing process, there was hundreds of people.
Oh, really? Oh, there's that many.
Day, 19, 20 years ago than it is today. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then the amount of people that they would actually take and select, there was tests that maybe they only took a handful on, and it was good for 2 years.
Wow.
So you'd have, you know, maybe 2 years of not knowing, waiting around, and I think it took probably closer to a year of being on the test before, or on the list before I finally did get selected. So I was in Sherman for a whopping 8 months. And then I was able to get hired at the sheriff's office and had to start all over with the academy or the FTO program again and roll right into doing it the way that the sheriff's office did it. Yeah. And
do you bring on new officers every year, or are you fully staffed?
Virtually now we do. There for a while it was not happening, but I think in 6 years I've hired around 24 deputies.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So actually total for the sheriff's office, over 150 people I've hired in 6 years.
Wow.
The jail has a lot of openings. So people use the jail as a stepping stone to get into law enforcement. So they come into jail for a couple of years and they may go to the city police department or Rochester police department. Sure. And then some people just don't like it. And so they just totally just quit. So we in my 6 years, one time, for about 15 seconds, we were fully staffed in the jail. So that's about the best we've ever done.
So who was sheriff when you were hired?
Williamson.
Williamson.
Yep,
Okay,
Sheriff Williamson. I'll never forget when he called me. It's a real quick story. I worked midnights in Sherman. Phone rang. I was sleeping. My phone rings, and it's the sheriff, and he was calling me, wanting to meet with me before he was going out of town. Just so happened to be like that. Well, I had to work shift that night in Sherman, and he's like, "Hey, can you meet with me at this time?" Blah blah. Blah. And I said, "Well, I got to work tonight, sheriff, and I'm not for sure if I'll be able to go get down there. I got to do this and that." And then I woke up. I'm like, "I'm sorry, Sheriff. I'll be there. I'll figure it out." Right? The coffee had a little moment there. Yeah, I was a little foggy there. And then I called, my supervisor. It's Chief Banger now. He was a sergeant then. I called him, and he was like, "Not a problem. I'll come in." I think he even came in and he covered for me for the hour that I needed to go down there. And then when I came back, so it was
that's pretty cool.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it sure is. So what are the? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, what's going on in law enforcement today? It seems that your deputies and even what you have to do is tougher than ever.
Our dads wouldn't recognize law enforcement starting right now. So certainly times have changed, and many times things evolve for good. Right? Sure. We think like body cameras. Is a good thing. Sure. And we embrace that, and it was part of the Safety Act mandate. And quite frankly, the county board had offered them to me in the past, and the city had just started their program, so I wanted to wait and let them work out the bugs, and then we decided what we wanted to do. Well, then it became a mandate, and it's worked out great. It's exonerated our people way more than it's caused any other issues. I put them on our jail staff, which was not part of the mandate, but that's where most of our lawsuits come from, and actually. They were a little reluctant as to why we were doing that until inmates make accusations. And now we can go back and look at the body camera footage. And once again, they're exonerated almost every time, and now they embrace it.
That's great.
The correctional officers really like it.
Yeah, so, it's for their own protection and good. Yeah.
But what hurt the more though about the Safety Act specifically, about what changes have happened, is that we really feel like it was done in the dark. Down in a deep room in the Capitol building without any input from a legitimate law enforcement source, not your friend that you'll invite your chief in to sit at the table and then act like you're consulting with them. And so that was our frustration. They weren't really talking to the real people of how this was going to impact our jobs. And legislation, I even asked Senator T. McClure, who, by the way, stood shoulder to shoulder with me at every one of these events, and he was adamantly against it. He's a great guy. And I said, Senator, how many trailer bills are required on a good piece of legislation? And he said, if it's done correctly and you do all your homework ahead of time, none. The Safety Act's already had 4 trailer bills. That's how bad it was. They had to keep going back and fixing everything they screwed up in it because it was written very poorly. No matter what their motivation was, they could have the purest motivation to try to clean things up, but it wasn't done correctly. And again, when you pass it at 3 o'clock in the morning at the end of a lame duck session, with nobody reading a 700-page plus bill,
right,
then you know that there was some reason why they did that.
Yeah.
So again, but we're left to deal with it, and you know, we are resilient, and we will keep doing our jobs. I said then that our men and women at the sheriff's office will still get up every day. It's my job to come in and fight this fight along with the Illinois Sheriff's Association, chiefs of police, but the troops on the street will do their job. I knew they would, and I went and talked to them about it, and I was confident they would still get up every day and do their job, and they did, and they continue to do this to this day.
What's the biggest challenge with the Safety Act that affects you in a negative way?
The unfunded mandates. Yeah, there's a lot of the body cam package cost me $500,000.
Is that right?
That was not money that the county board had. Now, again, part of that is my fault about putting on people in the jail.
Sure.
But the county board supported my decision on that. But the whole package cost us $500,000. So that's what frustrates me. And then, again, the feeling when you kill the police spirit, when police officers know this is being done by legislators who are supposed to have our back, they're supposed to make our job better and provide us the equipment and funding, not do the opposite, which is what they did. When you kill the police spirit, when you take a job that most people don't want to do, and now you make it harder. There was rumors about them taking away qualified immunity, which protects us. When you make a split-second decision, and it turned out to be wrong, that 3 years later the lawyers figured out you were actually wrong about that. Qualified immunity protects us. It protects my assets, my house, my family.
Sure.
And they tried to take that out in the first version. They tried to take that away from us. You would have had 0 cops on the street if that would have went through. And finally the sponsors figured that out, and they just removed that portion. But the fact that they tried to do it, it kills a police spirit. It's like, what are you doing? We don't get rich doing this job. You know, we're happy. We make a good living, right? We're able to have a house and take our family on vacation, but we're not going to get rich out of this. And now you put us in danger. You know, that's what hurt the most.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah. Not good.
How about the no cash bail situation?
So once again, you know, my public comments are pretty clear on that too. That when you take somebody accused of a crime, and they said it was pauper's prison. That was their premise, right? And said, well, it's not fair that this person has money and they get to bond out for the same crime that this person can't. Well, first thing I said was, well, life's not fair. We all know that. Life's not fair. I arrested a lot of people in Travis S2 that had wads of money in their pocket. I've never had that. You know, there's wads, thousands of dollars. But they also wouldn't talk about, let's keep going backwards. How about if we don't commit a crime? You never have to post cash bail at all if you don't commit a crime. And I say that to people when they roll their eyes. I said, you can roll your eyes all you want, but it's the truth.
It is the truth.
Don't commit a crime. Well, keep moving forward now. So if you are accused of a crime and you had to post, you know, $500 cash to get out, now you got a little skin in the game. If you don't come back to court, if the court has ordered you to pay a fine that you don't pay, that money can now be used, right? We can give restitution to a victim. And let's not forget about victims, right? That's what everybody forgets about, is the victims of crime are never thought of. It's an afterthought, especially by the sponsors of this bill. They didn't the word victim, I don't think, was even in any of those versions they had. But it's if they don't come back, they don't pay their fine, then we can seize that money from them. And I think that was a motivation to bring people back. And now to today, and Chief Scarlett released his crime stats, just like I did mine. Our crimes against properties are all going up because people that commit crimes for a living, when they're not locked up, they're not committing more crimes. And that impacts our quality of life. It impacts our safety. And it's proven to be right. We all knew this was going to happen. These crimes are up in different percentages across the city and county, but all these burglaries and thefts are going up and up and up right now because the people are out committing crimes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Is money, when you guys seize money and the person's convicted, does the money get to be utilized for the benefit of the police departments? Or
yes, so there's asset forfeiture, we call it, and we can seize cars, we can seize property that can be sold at auction, we can seize cash, but there's limitations of what you can use it for. I can't use it to pay salaries and things like that. You use it basically in the war on drugs when you seize money like that. You can. So if we're going to buy, we can buy equipment for the tactical team.
You can.
We can.
Good.
We absolutely can, because that's the war on drugs.
Yeah, sure.
And there's some other options. There's a little bit of flexibility, but we manage those funds and make sure we don't needlessly spend it.
Sure.
But it is a safety net for us to have some money for equipment. It's a very difficult process to seize the money. It's not as easy. Some people try to say that it is. Even DUI cars can be seized. If a person has multiple convictions, felony convictions, we can actually try to seize that vehicle too,
sure.
and then sell it at auction, and then use that money in a DUI fund. So we have to use that money back in the fight to keep our community safe.
That's great.
Gotcha.
I'm glad to hear that. That's good.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
Back to the tactical response unit. So this is just Sangamon County officers that are part of that?
No, it's we have some other agencies that have officers. We've had other deputies from Menard County on the team as well, because we do have an agreement with them to cover Menard County on a situation that they need a tactical response. Currently, right now, we have Chatham Police Department has officers on, and Rochester Police Department has officers on. You know, we open it up every time that we put it out. There's a testing process in order to get on. We'll put it out to all the chiefs, and then anybody that wants to add someone on, if they pass, they go through. We have a physical agility test that they need to pass, and we have a shoot that they need to qualify through. And then once they do that, then there's an interview process, and then then we make decisions based on everything.
Yeah, pretty rigorous process, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, you got to have something. I mean, we're supposed to be a little bit better, right? So
absolutely.
I feel like that's kind of what we do.
I think that's who we would want out there. Those that are a little bit better. I want the A team, not the C team.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Do you guys use the Decatur training facility over there?
We do, and actually, I sit on the board over there.
Okay.
We actually train our correctional officers over there too. I basically rent their space from them.
Okay.
But we do utilize that facility. Not quite much, probably as we want to, but they have a virtual training simulator, which is like the old FAST machine, if you remember that, a firearms training simulator. Which is like a 360-degree thing now, which instead of just a flat screen in front of you, it goes all the way around you, which kind of creates another level of stress for you.
Sure.
But we go over there and train, and we have people that work off duty over there training the other classes. So it's a world-class facility. If people haven't seen it, you get a chance to
heard that.
see
I've
it.
not seen it yet.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to hook you guys up and send you through the virtual simulator, because they're already looking. They're always looking for people, and you can come back here and talk about it. So.
I would love that. We'd make a fool
let
of
us know. We'll come back and talk about it.
I'd love to see you with a gun in your hand.
We actually just I don't know if you know this or not, Sheriff, we have a field training exercise coming up in August, and we just booked the new McCletsy building that they have over there.
Okay.
And it's a different layout, and they've got buses, and they've got a train car in there, I think,
awesome.
and then all kinds of other stuff too.
So you can simulate those.
And the thing about that training facility over there is I mean, you're not going to find any better. And we can do like live force on force with simunition rounds, which are like paint marking rounds. And trust me, they hurt. They hurt. They hurt.
Right?
And it adds a different level to the training. It makes it just that much more
when it
realistic.
Hurts when you get shot. You pay a little more attention.
Absolutely. When you go in a room and you make a mistake,
you're not playing paintball, are you?
Yeah, no, it
hurts way worse than that.
Yeah. So
over the years, have you had any close calls being on the street for as long as you were?
Oh, my second month on my own, I had a gun pulled on me.
Oh,
so
you did?
it was an elderly gentleman that I got a call that was waving a gun in traffic in a small community, and so I went up and we located him, and I had another deputy with me, and then a couple of local officers, and we located him, and it was clearly an elderly man. He had his hands in his pocket, and I was talking to him, and sir, why don't you take your hands out of your pocket? Well, then I wasn't getting a response, and then I started getting a little louder, and all of a sudden he pulls his hand out. Well, he's got a pistol in his hand, and so I got one deputy making his way to the house, and I got two other officers making their way this way, and I'm just, it's mano a mano at that point, it's me and him, but I was able to see where I could get to a tree, and I just kept talking to him.
Sure.
And I knew that if he pulled the gun out and put it straight down by his thigh, and I knew in my mind, I'm looking at him, but I'm also watching his hand, and if that hand cleared his thigh, I was going to have to shoot.
Sure.
But I didn't, and I certainly had the legal right to at that point. Right. But I knew when I went home that night that I'd chosen the right career, because I was fine with it, and I was also fine if I had to use deadly force, and it wouldn't be my fault.
Yep.
I would have been sorry about it because he was elderly, but I'm going home. And so, and then over the years on the tactical team, you find a gun in the house that you knew somebody hid, and then it kind of erases the hair on the back of your neck. You realize how close you were every single time. But again, we accept that when we take this job.
Yeah. Wow. Have you had any close calls?
Oh, yeah. Basically, long story short, he was under the influence of some type of drug and losing his mind inside the house. He'd already shot at I believe it was his nephew at the time. So we got the response. We got the call to go to that. And at the time when I was on the team, I was a sniper on the team. I do my job as in trying to get into a position. A lot of times as a sniper, you're not doing a whole lot of shooting. Thankfully, you're doing more reconnaissance. You're getting more information. You're sending it back to everybody. When the process of doing that and trying to move into position, he started shooting at me outside of the window of the back of the house. And bullets went buzzing by the top of the head. And went running off the road, and I don't know for this day if he saw us and was actually shooting at us, or if it just happened to be bad luck on my part. He started firing down range of where he was at, but eventually, you know, how that ended is you know, he was started throwing guns out the window and that type of thing. We were able to eventually talk him into giving up and coming out and surrendering. And then so that was one.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it would feel like being shot at. I mean, I just can't even. I mean, yeah.
And you know, Sangamon County actually has a low level of crime rate. It's a very safe community.
Yeah, good.
Right. But these things do happen. Sure. And the public
and
usually
people don't think,
they never know about it.
Idea.
You never know if it's not on the news or in the newspaper. You don't think it happens, but it's something that we live with. And we're aware of it every shift we go into work.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I always watch these videos online, you know, and these police officers going up to a car and you don't know what you're getting into.
You know, maybe one of those dangerous things you do is a traffic stop, right? Because you don't know the cars are tinted out, and you know there's factory tint on all of them. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. For us, we're out in the middle of nowhere sometimes.
Right.
And again, we just accepted it, and we're fine with it. Again, just like you guys are supporting us now, we just want the public to support us, understand. You know, when we ask for something, we do need your help, and you know, just make sure that you keep us in mind. You know, when we're at the gas station, somebody thanks us for our service, it means the world to us. And we still get that here. Springfield Sangamon County supports us very well.
That's awesome.
You know, and I tell deputies all the time that, you know, there's this national narrative of defund police that went around the larger cities. That's never existed in Springfield Sangamon County, and we're appreciative of that.
That's great. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I always love it when you see people do that. I know I certainly do. Any first responder of any kind that I see. Because I think people just have no idea. As you said, you accept the dangers that you face every day, but a lot of people never even crosses their mind what you guys have to be thinking about.
It's a great job. This is a noble profession.
Absolutely.
And we still believe that in our hearts, but again, it's disheartening when all these things happen with the Safety Act or somebody does badmouth us because, and sometimes a mistake is made, right? It's an honest mistake because everybody makes them. But again, we bat almost 1,000. I'm very proud of the men and women that work for the sheriff's office and they're out protecting our streets every day. And like I said, I'm going to do everything I can to help them.
I like it.
Cool. From both of you, what's one thing that the citizens of Sangamon County ought to understand that maybe they have no idea about?
I'll start and let him think about it.
Please
do. We're human beings. We, you know, the divorce rate for law enforcement is at one time it was roughly 80%.
Wow.
Man. It's hard on our families, and that's what I want to recognize is the families. We're out there doing it, but it's harder on the families because they have no control over it. We actually have control of what's going on out there many times. The families sit at home, and I'll tell you a quick story. Early on in my career, I was in a fight on the street after a DUI hit and run, and I had a scanner at the house, and my wife overheard the entire fight. Dispatch is yelling at me, and I can't answer because I'm fighting with this guy and everything. And she was calling dispatch because she knew them and what's going on. So they had to fill her in, I came home, and I destroyed the scanner, and I said, you're never going to listen to that again because I'll never have you go through that again. So the families go through a lot. They go through more. They do go through a lot, and it's, they feel what we feel, but they have so much more frustration. We're the ones, as soon as the pager goes off or the TAC team call goes out, we jump and run, and they start worrying.
Yeah, sure.
You know, Travis hits the street, and his guys hit the street, and their families start worrying about them. And the public sometimes doesn't. They can't imagine that, you know, that the fear of sitting at home and not knowing what's happening out there. And we'll do it for 25 years, 30 years, and we still love it. So that's what I want people to know.
That's great because I never think about my safety when I get up and go to Peerless every day. I don't think about that. I can't imagine.
And then you throw on top of that, they're wondering what's going on the entire time, and they're helpless to do anything about anything that they do or don't know.
And when you're not answering your phone nowadays, these cell phones, right? That's your anchor. And when we don't always we're working, we have time to answer the phone all the time, and they can't figure out why you're not answering the phone, and it's because we're trying to take care of business out here.
Wow.
Any thoughts to add to that, Travis?
You know, Sheriff said something about, we don't use pagers anymore, boss.
I did back in the day.
I gotta admit, when I first got on the team, we had pagers for a very short time. We had a very short time.
Have one Monday.
You know, I guess you know, we get put in we do a lot of training, and training is just that. It's training. It's nothing. It's not the real life. It's not exactly 100%. You can train for everything, but they always say a routine call, routine traffic stop. That there's nothing routine about them. No. They're never the same because it's nothing is ever exactly the same.
Sure.
You can do 1,000 traffic stops and roll up on one and go, whoa. I've never seen this before, right? You know, so we're put in positions every single day to where we have to make calls quickly. Very, very fast calls that can change the trajectory of somebody's life, even. And so that comes down to experience and just doing the job and knowing what to do in a situation like that. You know, I got a lot of guys and gals that are out there that they do a fantastic job just talking to people. Yeah. And that's the number one goal is if we can get the job done just by having a conversation. That's what we hope to do. Doesn't always work that way. Right. There's a lot of people out there that's not going to work. You know, what's the old saying? 80% of our calls comes from 20% of the population. Oh, yeah. And that's probably, I don't know if those numbers are true, but it's probably close to that. And you know, we come to know that 20%. Really well. Like, we've met. Right? So you know, so it's one of those things where you know, a lot of times, like for us too, you know, when we come across, let's say that 80% that maybe calls 911 help once in their life or once every 10 years, that's going to be their only encounter with law enforcement, right? Right. Well, we're doing it every single day, nonstop. So that's something that we have to remember too. Is that guy who's calling us, it's never called, or gal that's calling us, who's never called us before, that's their worst day. Oh yeah, that's their worst day they probably ever had or are going to have. And you know how we respond to that, and if we remember to respond to that the right way, you know, that's what you know people are going to know and what they're going to see. So
yeah. Interesting. Well, a lot for us to think about, that's for sure, and a lot to be grateful for what you do. How often does your tactical response unit get called out?
Question.
Just curious.
So you say call out. We do a lot of things that it's pre-planned too. So we're not necessarily called out. I will activate the team once I get told from the captain of operations, go ahead and get them going for whatever operation it may be that we're doing. But ultimately it's you know, we have our dirt team, our drug team keeps us busy with drumming up work for us to serve those search warrants.
Gotcha.
If there's
so a lot of it's proactive on that side of it.
Yeah, we do quite a bit of that too. Yeah. But you know, the call outs that we do have, usually when we get those when not our pager, but our phone goes off with the page for us to go out, or because that's a real bad deal when it's unplanned and our phones go off. That's when we know that hey.
Does that happen very often?
It happens. To put a number on it, I really couldn't tell you. Yeah, sure. You could say 3, 5, 10 times a year. I really couldn't put a number on it. But usually, a lot of times when that does happen, law enforcement's, whatever agency it may be, is already on scene. They're already dealing with something that now they need help with. So then we get that information, and then we come, and then we have the tools, we have the training, and we have the ability with the numbers of people that we have on our team to be able to come and handle that situation, or at least help and assist with that as well. And we know that when that does happen, like a lot of times you're in for the long haul. I mean, I've been out, you know, in a laid out with a sniper hide for 6 to 8 hours in freezing cold. I remember, and it was a long day. Yep. You pack a couple snacks and hope your water bottle doesn't freeze. So,
do the agents, or does it say city, county, and state? Do you guys all get along fairly well, communicate well together?
We do.
Back each other up,
and they all have SWAT teams also that we work with and train with the city at least once a year. That's great. But absolutely, and I will say, Chief Scarlett is a great friend that we kind of came up together, and we came up through the ranks together. And he and I are on the phone probably twice a week on average.
Right, he sure is a good guy. Oh, he is. I don't know him real well, but boy, I'm impressed.
He's the second best law enforcement official in the county.
I love it. We'll have to have him on next week.
Although I don't have a bobblehead planned. He's got a bobblehead night coming up at the Ball Diamond.
I like it.
But anyway, no, we get along great, and we do share. You know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And over the years, all the chiefs that I've gone through over there, when I was the undersheriff, back to Chief Caldwell, even great friends and great mentors you could ask questions of, because again they dealt with some of the similar problems we have too. So.
Yeah.
We sure do appreciate what you guys do. One more time, the details of the golf outing, and how can somebody, who do they need to contact?
Or if they wanted to even just make a donation, or have sponsorships to, you know.
Yeah, even if you're not into golf, but you want to help out, the phone number is on there. It's 217-725-9339. That is my number. If you call me, you'll get me direct. So it's at Long Bridge. It's May 24th. Tee off will start at 2. So if you want to, go to lunch and make your way out to the golf course and get 9 holes in out at Long Bridge, there will be a meal provided with it's $400 per foursome, so $100 a player, and then you'll get a meal. And I believe they said live music on Friday nights out there too, so that'll follow too. So I don't know who's playing, but I'm sure they're pretty good if they're playing out there. So yeah, and then if somebody wants to be a hole sponsor, we got $100, $250, and $500 hole sponsors. Speaking of that, I can, off the top of my head, the ones that I do know already that have helped out, and obviously Peerless, you guys got to force them together and you helped out.
Sure.
Windsor Homes, they're getting a foursome together, and they've made a donation as well. I'm trying to think. Oh, LRS, I got them. Bank of Springfield's going to put together a team as well. And then trying to think if I hope I don't forget of anybody, but if I do, we're going to add them to our Facebook page and list all the sponsors that helped out. We're also creating a banner too, so if we get the logos in time, we'll get them on the banner itself. We're not going to do the holes, the signs by the holes, because it's all cost, and we're trying to just use the money for that. I will say something else too. If anybody has any good donation ideas we're going to try to do the longest drive, and then also do closest to the pin. So maybe have something to win for that. If somebody wants to donate anything in regards to that, we would take that and add that to the things.
And his website, is it just Macon County Sheriff's website?
It's Sangamon County Sheriff's.
Yeah.
You went back to Decatur.
Thank you.
Sangamon County Sheriff's Office. It's the Facebook page. It'll be on there. We're gonna get the actual flyer up there, and then you can make contact through the sheriff's office, or you can call me direct on that number it's on the flyer. It'll be on the Facebook page. Call me, text me, email me, whatever you want to do. I'm available, so I'll make myself available if anybody's got any questions. And if you don't golf and you just want to make a donation, no problem.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Super. So, well, we're glad to help get the word out for sure.
Yes.
Appreciate
certainly
it.
A worthy cause.
Yeah. So, and thank you for everything that you do for our community.
Amen.
And, we're behind you guys.
Thank you guys for being here for us.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for coming on today too.
Yep.
You bet.
Been good to spend a little time.
We'll see you after the virtual machine when you guys go through.
Yeah.
I'm
looking forward to that.
I need to do that in private.
Oh no, we don't get to. We don't get to.
Oh yeah, you're coming with us, Jay.
All right. Well, this sure has been fun. Thanks.
Thank you guys.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
Thanks for having us. For sure. Appreciate it.